minutes. Chantal, you're so quick. I didn't even finish talking. And you said you could hear me already. Okay. Ford, nice to see you in the room. KT, all right. I'm starting to remember who some of you are now. KT is a KU, first two letters of your name. All right, so I have a lot of setting up to do. So this is not a normal trade room. It's not a normal trade. It's probably mostly for curiosity for a lot of people, because you've got to be really not bragging, but you want to be pretty experienced to trade this way. So that's the only thing I'm going to say. You remember me, KT, from previous rooms, you mean? From yesterday. All right, let me get my Thinkorswim going. So I'm early, so we got a couple of minutes. People aren't here yet. Everybody's not here yet. Earnings trades, you never know what's going to happen. They are a total mystery. And we'll explain why. Let me shrink my TOS. I'll show you what I use TOS for. So I have a multi-broker account. Okay, let me see if I can do this the way that I want to do it, though. Bear with me. All right, let me start the trade room. So I want to welcome everyone to the trade room. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director at 10 Minute Trades. We're going to give Netflix earnings a good shot. That's me. I'm originally from New York, live in Pennsylvania, and I teach people to trade futures. Please remember, it's possible to lose money trading futures, so trade carefully. It's the same info we give before every trade room. It's possible to lose, so be careful. If it's not the right trade for you, do not trade it. Just trade what you're comfortable trading. Okay, that's the most important thing. So let me just decide how I'm going to deal with this. The Squawk Box service is Financial Juice Pro. All right, so these are the charts I'm using. Let me just make sure that I'm connected. So I'm connected to TD Ameritrade, and I'm connected to my Ninja Trader account. Okay, so we have a multi-broker account, and we're connected to two different accounts. I'm looking at Netflix, their actual real price on the right, but I'm also, because I don't really like the data feed all the time that comes into Ninja Trader, I'm also looking at Thinkorswim, okay? You can have for a very small amount of money, you can have a Thinkorswim account and use it for trading futures, if for trading earnings the way that we do, if you want to. I mean, I have very little money in my Thinkorswim account, but they're a great company. They give you live data. Now, if you want to get the data past 4 p.m., your trading hours have to be set to default 24/7. Okay. Normally, I set the trading hours to something different. Okay. But today, on my stock price, it's going to be set to default 24/7. That way, I'll see the Netflix price before, after 4 p.m. Now, I want to be very honest with everybody. With earnings, it's a 50-50 whether or not we'll even get a trade off. Okay. So it's the kind of situation where, if you're lucky enough to get an actual trade traded, it's not even lucky enough. If situation arises that the trade can take place, then it'll take place. But you have to understand something about earnings. Number one, they release earnings the way they release news. It's very non-specific. In other words, the time that they release earnings is very non-specific. They will say things like after the market close, before the market open. They won't give you an exact time. And that's like the opposite of the way that we do things. So it makes it very tricky to trade earnings. So sometimes we make it, sometimes we don't. Let's look at last month. Last month, I missed the trade, if I remember correctly. And that's because Netflix released their earnings earlier than they normally do. Usually the companies are fairly, I shouldn't say that. The companies are very inconsistent in the way they release their earnings, but they're consistently inconsistent, if that makes any sense. In other words, Netflix usually releases their earnings in the first 30 seconds after the market closes, but not always. That's the problem. See, they released it in 9 seconds after the market closed. I was not ready. I didn't have my orders ready to go. I don't chase. If I miss my trade, I'm done. I use, you can use earningswhispers.com for it. I like that site. I use it. But they don't give you the time properly. I strictly use it to figure out who's releasing their earnings. So last month I missed the trade. I'm trading the NQ on the stocks that we trade earnings on, because we don't have a company stock account, and we don't trade stocks. We trade futures. Did I say last month, Chantal? I mean last quarter. 2 quarters ago was July, and I'm trying to see what I was doing. Okay, so here's Netflix. A target of 7, a target of 30, and a stop of 20. And the setup is the 1-click range trade. That's the way that I'm going to trade Netflix. I might use a smaller target because I think if we get a stable straight move today, we'll be lucky. I think it's going to be an inconsistent move today. That's my gut feeling. So I'm going to use a target of 20, not a target of 30. Here's what happened 2 quarters ago. So at around as close to 4 o'clock as possible. As soon as it's safe, I'm going to try and put my orders on the chart. And yes, it's the software that does OCOs. I am going to try and put my orders on the chart. That's what I'm going to try and do. If the market's not safe, then I won't be able to get the orders on, and we won't have a trade. It'll be very anticlimactic, and that happens a lot with earnings. It happens. It'll happen again. Now, 2 quarters ago, it worked perfectly. It was, it wasn't a gigantic trade, but it was a nice 2-contract trade, almost $200. Netflix had a big move down, and the NQ followed. So it worked very nicely. So the idea is we're looking for a move in the NQ to mirror the move in Netflix. Okay, that's generally what we see happen. We'll know when the Netflix earnings are out because we'll see a burst in the price. We will know. It's not even gonna. It's hardly ever confusing as to whether or not the earnings have been released. We will know, but we might be too late. That's part of the problem. We might not be ready. And it's not because anybody's foolish or not a smart trader. It's because the nature of earnings, the way that we do it. We're doing it in an unusual way. We're using a proxy. We're using the NQ as a proxy. I also have the news in my ear. I have that squawk box in my ear. So I'm going to set up my trade because the time goes really fast in this room. So the way that you set it up for earnings is I'm using a 1-minute chart because it's been working better than tick charts lately. Oops, only need one strategy. I don't use a bracket. I'm using ticks above the range and ticks below the range. And I'm using 14 ticks above and below the range. And I'm going to leave everything in sim because I want to see where my prices get drawn before I decide what I'm going to do. I only go for a 7-tick target on my first target, and I'm just looking for 20 ticks on my second target. My stop is 20 ticks, and I might trail. But what I want to look at look back, and speaking of look back, I have my look back on 10. That I'm looking back 10 bars. Let me give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're in sim. I'm going to save this. Two contracts. When I apply it and okay it, now I just have to make sure that you click the 1-click range trade. That's the trade type. Trade type, 1-click range trade. Time does not matter because with the 1-click range trade, you enter the trade manually by clicking a button. Okay. This particular trade, I'm going to put my orders on the chart. Now, see how I couldn't see my orders? That's because I was in sim and my charts are on live. Now, when I click it and enable it, I'll see my orders. And I like that setup. I'm far enough away so that I can manipulate my orders This, for folks that don't use our software, what's great about earnings trades is this is what you have to do if you don't have our software and you want to trade news events. Now, this is a very fast event. Fast events are the hardest events to trade without software. There are plenty of trades like bond trades and things like that that are much more manageable to trade without our software. So a lot of times people complain and they shouldn't complain and say, well, you didn't sell us your software. Not everybody wants to A, spend money, B, do exactly what we do. Okay. Now, obviously I love our software, but I'm not here to sell the software. I'm here to trade the earnings the way that we do it. That's all I'm here for. And I can easily lose money. It's a hard way to trade whenever you use a proxy to trade. You're using a different instrument to get a reaction from a different instrument, if you follow me. It would be possible to trade stocks with our strategy, but we're not a stock trading company. You have to have a lot more money in your account. There's a lot of rules about day trading and Chantal, what do they call it? Day trade. I'm losing my mind. So the strategy settings that I'm going to use that are important. Okay. The ticks above the range I have set for 14. What that means is the current price at 4 o'clock or 10 seconds after 4, my orders are going to be 14 ticks above the current price. I mean, normally there's a much bigger move than 14 ticks with Netflix. Okay. And then I'm also using a 10 bar look back. So in other words, it's getting those 14 ticks by the high and low going back as far as 10 bars. Okay. In other words, it's like a range. Think of the 10 bars as a range, but it's not a range trade. Well, it is a range trade. Think of the 10 bars like a range, but you don't choose range trade. We choose one-click range trade. Now, if earnings were incredible, Netflix is one of the good companies to trade earnings on, and it's also not trading with a lot of other companies today. So there's things you have to do to protect yourself, to be careful, right? So one thing I do is go to Earnings Whispers. I go to the calendar and I look at after the market close and I sort it by time. And I look and see who else is trading with Netflix. And I've been having some problems. I think that there's been some problems with Earnings Whispers because it's only showing virtually no companies trading today. And you know what? I think it's probably true. It's saying 13 after the close, but there's only 10 here. Okay, so I wonder about the way that Earnings Whispers has been drawing the stocks. But generally, Netflix does not trade with other major stocks that might dramatically affect the price movement of Netflix, of the NQ, because of another earnings report that might come out very close to Netflix. So in other words, you're using Earnings Whispers to make sure, like, you don't want to trade earnings if you have Amazon and Facebook coming out at the same time, like I did last month and got stopped out because I foolishly traded it and shouldn't have. If they're all coming out at the same time, you got to just pass on the trade. pass on it. Don't trade it. This particular trade, we should be fine. There's nothing else trading with Netflix. So I got a 20 tick stop. I've got a target of 20. The real struggle that I have is, do I want to risk $300 on this trade? You know, it's been like a long weekend. I'm not in trading shape, if you know what I mean. I'm being honest, you know, we haven't traded in 2 days. I've done some simulating, but I'm just being honest. I'm not at my sharpest. I'm definitely not at my sharpest. But I'm going to risk $300 on this trade. Then the other struggle, decision-wise, is, do you trail? Do you want to trail? It's very easy to trail. If you want to trail, you just turn it on. And that would trail from the moment you get positive in a trade, 1 tick at a time, because I have number of trailing ticks set to 1. If I want to do 2 ticks at a time, I set that to 2. But I would prefer to trail. I think I prefer to trail immediately. For the way that we trade, I don't think any of that stuff really matters. That's the truth. It's no riskier or less riskier, because we're trading reports that create events, and the events don't care about what you're talking about. So that's, I'm still standing by what I'm saying. I think that, you know, for discretionary trading, you might have a good point. But for trading an event like Netflix, it just makes no difference. Honest, makes no difference. It just doesn't matter. You can get 30 Netflix trades and you could have 30 different results. That's the honest truth. After the weekend, or a long weekend, or a short weekend, or half a weekend, it doesn't matter. So I'm in sim. I just want to see where my orders are going to go. When you use the 1-click range trade, and don't take me the wrong way, I'm not knocking you at all. And I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that our experience has been the following: that normal technical analysis isn't the technical analysis we're really doing. Okay? That's all I'm saying. And look at this. The markets are above R3. That's amazing. So I'm kind of okay with where the orders are going to show up. I like my setup, and I'm going to give it a shot, and I'm either going to lose money or I'm not. And it doesn't mean I'm right either, you know? It's, you know, trading is like, what, 99% opinion, 1% technical analysis. No, that's not really true. I mean, there's skills, there's analysis, there's luck, there's so many different things. So the setup is pretty simple. It's not really that complicated. All right. All I'm doing, I'm not even using zones anymore. I don't set up a bracket. Our bracket is ticks above the range, ticks below the range. Think of that as our bracket, because we're using a form of a range trade. But we're not going to draw a box like we do on the API report. Okay, we don't need a box. We're just going to look at the current price. We're going to do it that way. And I'm going to risk 2 contracts for 7 ticks, one contract for 20 ticks, and I'm going to risk $100 per contract. So it's a $300 risk on the trade. We don't have to worry about entry time. You just have to make sure you choose the right trade. One click range trade. Okay. I like where my orders are going to show up. So now I'm not going to test them because now they're going to be live. Okay. And I'm going to update my setup to 3 contracts. And I'm going to make sure my charts are on live so that I see my orders. So on my other screen, Netflix KW is in that NASDAQ. And that's the reason that we're trading the NASDAQ also. I think every trade that we do, the bulk of the stock that we're trading, it's in the NASDAQ. So I'm watching. I want to make sure that I know when those earnings come out. And that's why I use Thinkorswim. Just in case my feed doesn't work well with Ninja, it's a backup. Okay. It's really a backup. Thinkorswim is very reliable. It's an excellent product. It's very well priced. And the idea, and we can check our time also by going to the website time.is. And you know that I'm not going to go and cry in a corner if I don't make money. Time is exact. I went to the website time.is, okay, to put myself in sync. I want to be in sync. We know that this is a risky trade. Do you remember the old days? Chantal, remember the old days when we traded it 100% blind? Just looking at the NASDAQ, we didn't have the chart. We never knew when the earnings even came out. And I just want to be clear. I kind of trade this, not kind of, I trade this like a breakout trade. I don't chase it. Okay. We don't chase earnings. I don't reverse it because I never know what earnings are going to do to a stock. I think that sometimes we can get fortunate in that sometimes the NQ is a teeny bit delayed from the move. In other words, if it's a gigantic move down, we might have time to move our orders a tiny bit closer. Just a little bit closer. I've just been thinking about a lot of old songs this week because Phil Spector died. I don't know if you all know who Phil Spector was, but Phil Spector, he was crazy. The older he got, the crazier he got. He killed a woman in his house, but he produced some of the most amazing music ever. The Ronettes, Ronnie Spector. What was the song that Eddie Money, I think, also did it? I can't believe I can't remember the name of the song, but he produced John Lennon. He produced Let It Be. Most people don't realize he produced The Long and Winding Road by the Beatles. He produced some amazingly beautiful music. And then as he got older, he just got inconsistent. He became an inconsistent trade. But he became, yes, Wall of Sound exactly was KW was his fame, his claim to fame. Lots of orchestra, lots of instruments. Take me home tonight, be my little baby. That was Ronnie Spector. Be my little baby. Take me home tonight. Very clever. That was a very clever song. Eddie Money passed away this year also. Apparently people loved him. So around 4 o'clock, I'm going to put my orders on the chart. And look, it's possible that bad luck could get me filled early and I'll just have to close the trade at a loss. You know, bad luck, the NASDAQ could jump on me before the earnings come out. And I could get filled totally wrong and lose money. The other thing that could happen is I have to wait until 4 o'clock and 5 seconds at least. If the market is too volatile at 4 o'clock, I have to wait. And last quarter, I had to wait so long that I missed the trade. So when you're doing earnings, you just accept the fact that plenty of them you'll miss. And it's just not a big deal. It's just part of doing it the way that we do it. If we were trading the real stock price, it would be totally different. Okay. So that song, Take Me Home Tonight, Be My Little Baby. I'm trying to think. That's not the famous line that I'm thinking. What was the Ronettes' most famous song that Phil Spector produced? It was Be My Little Baby, but that's not the title, I don't think. Have to look it up after the trade, maybe. So the catch is at close to 4 o'clock, I want to put my orders on the chart because Netflix probably is going to come out within 15 or 20 seconds after Be My Baby. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. So it's not that volatile, but you could get caught at 4 o'clock. So it is what it is. We all know that it's going to be what it's going to be. And, you know, of course, we'd rather make money than lose. So Netflix is out, folks, I think, and I believe we missed it. Okay. I believe we missed it. Maybe not, but I think so. I'm sure we did. I'm sure. And it didn't, or it's hard to tell. It was too hard to tell. I cannot tell. Now it's going short. So you have a giant move up, a giant move down. It was just too difficult. It looked like it came out to the upside. So it's like I said, I don't chase it. It wasn't that big of a move. But see, Mike, it stopped at R3. It's very herky-jerky today, which is what I was concerned about with Netflix. It's going up now, but look how fast. I'm not sorry I didn't trade it. Look, I could put my trade back on, right? I could put my trade back on, but I don't know what direction. I just don't know. I mean, right now it looks like it's up, but the NASDAQ is not giving us a gigantic move from it. It's confused. The NASDAQ is acting confused. Ford, maybe you got it. You know what I mean? Maybe your theory is right today. We're just not getting a dramatic move. And it was a good move. Don't get me wrong. There was plenty of points in the NASDAQ, but it wasn't the right setup for me. It went up, The NASDAQ didn't follow suit. In fact, it was going the wrong way. So the right thing for me to do at that point was to exit the trade, not stay in it. If you're uncertain as to what's going to happen, it's not worth throwing money away, right? We're not here. I'd rather show you how to do it. And if there's no trade, it's not the end of the world. We've got the whole day tomorrow. We have the whole day Thursday. We have oil and gas on Friday. We got plenty of trading all week. If one trade just doesn't explode, and I have to cancel the Intel trade room Thursday because miraculously I'm getting vaccinated. I was able to get a vaccine appointment. So I didn't know when I made the Intel room, but I have to cancel the room. I'm sorry. Living takes precedence over one trade. API is tomorrow, KT. All the oil and gas trades this week are delayed because of Martin Luther King Day. So, but they'll still should act totally normally. Ford, why do you think I'm brave? Ford, why do you think I'm brave? I mean, we're not going to talk politics, but I'll talk to you about the vaccine. We don't talk politics in the room at all because it just keeps the room kind of like our little haven. You know what I mean? It's like a little safe haven where we don't have to fight with each other about politics. But do you think I'm brave because I'm willing to take the vaccine? Ford, is that what you're saying? There have been some adverse reactions in foreign countries and not in elderly. You know, there's been some reactions. For in particular, I read some about some very, very old people had some bad reactions. I didn't see any deaths anywhere. Almost everyone in my family has been vaccinated because some of the people are frontline workers or they go to the prisons. And I know people personally that have been vaccinated with no problems. And you have to trust science. If you don't trust science, I mean, look where not trusting science has gotten us. More people are dying here than almost in any other country because we haven't trusted science and run, you know, the whole. So that's what it's about. But I trust science. So, I mean, I'll trust the vaccine. I think if they say they're working, and I'm cynical too. I mean, Ford, I'm cynical. I mean, I'm an ex-hippie, man. I'm as cynical could be. I mean, that's the truth. I'm cynical. But there's no hope of a normal life if these vaccines don't work. So you got to have faith that they're going to work and that we can get back to a normal life. So, Mike, let's talk about your trade. I'm in Simmons still learning, so I'm trying stuff out. So, Mike, I mean, as long as it can work both ways, but everything changes when you trade real money. You know what I mean? And that's the truth. But Mike, the key is get comfortable with however you wind up trading. I'm not embarrassed that I didn't have a trade today. It wasn't the right setup for me. It didn't move the right way. I'm looking for a certain type of movement. I didn't get it. So, Mike, going red, going short when it was red there was nothing wrong with doing that. I don't think that was a mistake. Okay. Hang on, because so I want to show you some things while you're here. Let's at least don't panic. The screen's going to go black, I think. No, never mind. I can fix it. I think I can fix it. Okay, I could fix it. It wouldn't let me exit my Thinkorswim. All right, so I just want to show you a couple of things that I do to try and help me stay safe trading earnings. So look, there was a good move. And look, you had a normal NQ reversal, and it's a good opportunity to take it over here, right? because it's above R3, for heaven's sake, above R3. That's a rarity. Markets don't go above R3 all that often. R3 is pretty big. Now, I don't like when my net change display indicator is set to percent. I like when the unit is set to ticks or points. Okay. If it's set to points, I know how many points. Look how much the NASDAQ is up today. It's exploding today. Okay. It's exploding today. So for YouTube folks, if you're watching us on YouTube and you like that we play it safe sometimes, you like that we're careful, subscribe to our channel and give us a like. All right. Because that's the way I trade. I'm not reckless because I'm trading as if you're my family. Ford, the software is awesome. We just did an update that just finished. We just released it like not even a month ago. And also, I've got some ideas that next update, it probably won't be for 6 months. I wish that I could do it in a month. But my boss is just not ready to pull the trigger that fast. I've got some great ideas for the next update. No, there's always going to be updates for it. So I mean, you know what I mean. Read my last email about buying the DMMs, about waiting. I'm not a waiter, not because I want to take your money, but my last email where we were selling our DMMs from the webinar is pretty much if you wait, you never get the chance to move forward. It was only $27 to buy the reports. It's a good way to get started, to start learning. If you could wait forever, it's like you don't wait to get your driver's license. You can't wait to get it, right? So I'm just saying there are times to wait and there's times to move. And with our software, it's so advanced now. If not, Ford, send me an email and I'll send you the links. But let me show you. I wanted to show you all just how do you find earnings trades so that you could learn how to do this on your own a little bit. So remember the setup. First of all, this is going to be recorded. So the setup was very simple. We used a strategy, okay? And we used a strategy that had ticks above and below the range, okay? I used a 10-bar look back. I looked back 10 bars. That helps decide where those ticks go, where those orders get placed. I was 2 positions for 7 ticks, 1 position for 20 ticks, and a stop of 20. And then the type of trade that I choose, the trade type, is a one-click range trade. And the reason for that is because when you choose a one-click range trade and you enable it by clicking the checkbox, you have the opportunity to enter it either immediately long or immediately short, or 14 ticks above current price or 14 ticks below current price based on a 10-bar look back. Okay, that's the concept. But in order to find an earnings trade, you want to open up the website, earningswhisper.com. I found that right now to be the best site. I'm going to just put my charts and sims so I don't accidentally enter an order. I have found that earningswhisper.com is the best. So let's say that now I didn't know Netflix was coming out. So let's say next week, I want to figure out what my schedule is going to be for next week. So the one thing is when you click calendar, it shows you the days and it shows you how many stocks have earnings before the open and after the open. And there's not a lot this week. It's only 13 before the open, 24 after the close. So you know that this week is not a big earnings week. Because look, if you go to next week, 154 on Thursday after the close. The Monday after that, 148. So earnings season is really just starting to really, it's about a week away for the real, when it really gets going. But, you know, if you have 60 reports after the open, right? Like on Wednesday of next week, that's a lot. So to find the report, the stocks, what I do is you can have a list view, which is this, or a standard view. See how it's bigger. I like the list view. You can get a lot more information. And then you have before market open, BMO, after market close, or both. We mostly do after the market close. So I sort by time. You could sort by popularity. You could sort by name alphabetically. You could sort by sales. Time is what's important to us. So you sort it and then click back onto after market close so you see them. And then next Wednesday, the 27th, they're now sorted in time order. So look, Apple is that day. Now we're going to do Apple, okay? So the first thing I want to look at is, are there any huge other companies releasing their earnings the same time as Apple? Even though we know that earnings aren't going to be exactly at 4:30, we don't want to get stuck in two trades. We want to just trade one big one. And Apple is way bigger than any of those other little companies that are releasing their earnings at the same time. Okay. So that's how I use earningswhisper.com. Earningswhispers.com. Facebook is next Wednesday, or it's either next Wednesday or 2 Wednesdays. I think it's the 27th. Now, Facebook, you want to look very carefully. Is anything else? Tesla. Why did they change Tesla? Tesla, I think, is going to be a company we've never traded, but I think it's going to have an effect on the market. I think it could possibly affect Facebook. The markets are watching Tesla. With earnings, that's a very important issue. Are the markets watching the company that you want to trade? Okay. Facebook was earlier by how much? Chantal, were they earlier, or was it Tesla's 405? No, they're the same, 405. And it doesn't mean they're going to come out the same. Then I use Thinkorswim. I go to a 2-year chart on Thinkorswim. And sometimes they give you some hints as to what time the earnings actually came out. But the best way is to, if you're going to trade the way we do it, I have a multi-broker account. And look, Netflix had an awesome move, but we didn't know it was just going to go up. There's no way we would have known that. That's the stock price. You could see that the NASDAQ, it had a good move. It had a decent move. But we didn't know. It didn't have the kind of move for earnings. Oh, that's okay, Chantal. Apple's always 4:30. So that I know. Apple's always 4:30. At least right now, these days, it is anyway. So you want to use as many tools as you can get your hands on for trading earnings the way that we do it. So we have time. We've got the NASDAQ. We've got multi-brokerage. We've got the data feeding into NinjaTrader as a multi-broker. Because it's a multi-brokerage account, I can see the Netflix price on a NinjaTrader chart. And I opened up a very inexpensive, hang on, folks, 1 second. I have the most incredible cramp in my leg. I can't believe it. I have you don't have to have a very expensive account at TD Ameritrade, Thinkorswim to use their tools. They're a great company. They're one of the good trader companies. So obviously you don't need to do it unless you're really serious about it. There's probably about 8 stocks that we trade this way, and that's it. That's about how many we do. We do all the FANG stocks: Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, Apple, did I say? Yep. And we do Intel, we do Microsoft. Sometimes IBM moves the markets. But if you really wanted to get into this, you could study it. You could study. I apologize, folks. My leg is just going crazy on me. You could study earnings and figure out which stocks move to which indexes. You could make it a business. In other words, we could have a whole earnings business as a sideline, but it's extremely time consuming. So the way that we approach it is we try to do earnings as a regular event trade, not a whole category of 8 million earnings trades. I always bug Chantal because Chantal does a lot of testing for us. And I always bug her and I say, come on, Chantal, this quarter, let's do earnings, just earnings. We'll spend the whole quarter just doing earnings. And I believe that you could, but you'd have to use the software. You would have to invest in the software, I believe, or some sort of software to help you. But I think there's certainly enough earnings that move indexes that it could be pretty exciting. So, and a lot of money potential. There is potential to make money doing it. It's tricky, it's complicated, it's challenging. But we've had some real easy earnings trades also. We've had some real beautiful ones. Look at July. Netflix in July on Netflix was an easy earnings trade. I just put the orders on and it filled me and hit both my targets, just like one of our regular little breakout trades. It was perfect. Watch. Here come the orders. I'm going to put them on right now. The NQ calm down. That's all I was waiting for. Just I didn't want to put the orders on too early. There's the orders. And I moved the price out of the way. I didn't want to get filled early, which was smart because it jerked up first. And then Netflix came out. It was bad news. And it pulled us in and went through both targets. So you can have an easy earnings trade. It's not always like it was today. Today, we didn't get a move in one direction. We had a move down and then a move up. And that's when it's tricky. Now, tomorrow, let me just go over the trading tomorrow because there's a lot of no reports. I have a trade room for Canada CPI because I think that report can move the Canadian dollar. So, but I made a mistake and I updated the weekly market mover on the website. Also, the Canada bank rate statement. There are no reports for those. So that means there's no risk level. Okay. Even though that is the risk level. So our main reports tomorrow are the 20-year bond, which I like that trade a lot, API, which we love, and I like Australia employment. So 3 live trades, 2 possible reversals on the Canadian trades. Definitely possible reversal on the bank statement, and we'll look at the videos on Canada's core CPI. And that's how we'll decide how to trade that tomorrow. And that's part of the fun of coming into the trade room. Okay. Any questions, folks? That's it for today. Like I said, if you don't have a trade, You just go on to the next thing. And if you would have lost money, don't go crying into a corner. Pick yourself up and just get yourself ready for the next trade. You can make your money back plus some on your next trade. Don't let the psychology get you depressed if you have a bad trade. That's the most important thing I can tell you. Keep your psychology positive. Be positive. I don't see any questions. So tomorrow morning's an early start. I'll see everybody at 8 o'clock in the trade room. So California folks, they're not amazing trades. Our afternoon trades are all good trades. So I would, make it a point to be here for the afternoon trades. The morning trades, the Canada trades, they don't have daily reports because they're somewhat inconsistent trades. Canada's CPI always used to move the market, and then it stopped. My vaccine is Thursday at 5, but it's kind of far from my house. That's why I hate missing Intel, because we make money on Intel usually. We made $85 last month on Intel. It's usually not a gigantic move, but it's usually a nice move. I think Intel is going to be negative too, because AMD is kicking their butt. Absolutely just kicking their butt. Brian asked me for a video on this trade. Ford, thanks for coming in. I'm glad you're coming into the trade room. Did Brian ask me for the video? Tesla might be. I don't think it's more important. Brian, yeah, I could show you that there was no trade, essentially. Let me render it. Brian, give me 1 second. So today is the 19th. Brian, here's the trade. I mean, you could yell at me. Maybe I missed it. I don't know. You never know with earnings. Earnings are tricky. There's just no two ways about it. Earnings are tricky. So it came up to 4 o'clock, Brian. I'll let it run at 4 o'clock. How's that? All right. The NQ was pretty calm. So I wasn't afraid to put my orders on pretty early. I think I only waited like 8 seconds. And I'll tell you what threw me. Watch the move on the right chart on Netflix. It just kind of jerked pretty big. There it just started jerking around, which it does a lot right before the earnings come out. There. That to me was the earnings, but it wasn't reflected in the NQ. And that's why I felt I didn't have a trade. The move wasn't reflected. So I definitely feel like I did the right thing. Okay. For me, that was the right move. And look, there's plenty of people that are going to trade it after. Plenty of good discretionary traders out there that can use the Netflix stock info and trade the NQ still. You can still do it. Okay. And that's why this stuff is so interesting, because there's so many different ways. I mean, look, you had a pretty good signal there that maybe that Netflix was heading up and it was going to test the high, right? You could have had a stop below R3. Still a pretty big stop because the NQ is like 15 points away from it. Yes, Chantal, it was not an easy earnings trade today. I mean, it was sort of like the soybeans in the WASD quarterly grain report. The market kind of gave me a warning to stay away. So I'm not sorry. I'm perfectly, one of the most important things I feel that I could teach in this room is the ability to not ever feel bad if you don't take a trade. Just, it's no big deal. Never be embarrassed or feel silly if you miss one, and just move on to the next. It's just perfectly okay. Forgive yourself, right? That's like the biggest thing. Forgive yourself. All right, folks. So I'll see everybody at 8. YouTube, thank you, everybody. YouTube, give us a like. Hey, Chantal, tell me what it is, please, because I shut my screen by accident. All right, Ford, I'll see you tomorrow. Darren, it's almost impossible to send emails to support with no response. I was on support all day today and did not see your emails. So let me just think what you can do. I'm literally, I was on support all day long. What's your email address? Well, Darren, do you know how to send me a message direct? If you click on my name, don't create a ticket, Darren, just send an email, okay? Don't create a ticket, just send an email, and then I'll look for it, okay? And folks, you don't have to create a ticket. You could just send an email in the support system. And I actually prefer it. Tickets are time consuming. So sending an email is perfectly okay. All right, folks. Chantal, you know where I'm going. My daughter had surgery today, and I'm watching her dogs. I was hoping they were coming home tomorrow. Her dogs and cats. 3 dogs, 2 cats. One of the dogs has an upset stomach, and you know what that means. Oh, telling you, these dogs, they're bigger than horses. Chantal, what was the YouTube comment? I didn't see it. Now Gregory's a member, I believe. Is that the comment? Very informative. Gregory, that's awesome. So if you have any issues, send me an email to help@10minutetrades.com. Help@10minutetrades.com. Okay. And if you can't find the file or just anything, help@10minutetrades.com. That goes for everybody. If you spent $27, if you're here on a free trial, help@10minutetrades.com. We don't differentiate by the amount of money that you spent. Okay. That's a lie. No, it's not. I love answering emails. So I mean, it's like, Darren, I don't know why I didn't see yours. It's weird. We use that Fresh Desk system. I'm not a lover of it. I think it's possible to miss emails on Fresh Desk, but my company got so mad at me for using my own personal email, because if I'm not here for a day or two, someone else can answer the email if you use Fresh Desk. If it's on my personal email, it might go unanswered for a couple of days. Okay. All right. Very good, Greg. Greg, if you're a member, well, Greg, just remember that you get free trade room time with the software. I don't know if he's still there, Chantal, but I'll tell him. But so Greg, don't forget you get free trade room time, because YouTube is delayed a little bit. It's better in the trade room. Things are better inside the trade room. Okay. All right, folks, 8:00 in the morning. So I'll see everybody at 8. Ouch. That's not that early. Thursday's earlier, 7:30, I think. Okay, folks. Have a good rest of the day. It's good to get back into the swing of things. And I'll see everybody tomorrow with our favorite couple of trades, 2 of my favorite trades. Okay. See you tomorrow.